Hello everyone, welcome to our episode of Showcase on Bloodborne. Now for today's item, it's one I've never actually had a joy of using too much. Maybe it just doesn't fit my playstyle, but it is the Blade of Mercy. A special trick weapon passed down among the hunters of hunters. One of the oldest weapons of the workshop. Splits into two when activated. Or, I don't know, activated? Question mark? The weapon's warp blades are forged with saturite, I believe that's pronounced, a rare mineral of the heavens. Most effective in swift attacks, such as after quick-stepping. So yeah. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by activated. Well, you can split them, force them apart. That's kind of how that happens. Wouldn't use the word activated, but yes, this is one of two weapons with the mineral known as saturite, which is the Garmin's Scythe. I kind of forget it off the top of my head, but yes, both of them are built with that, and both of them have similar ideas of what their damage does. However, how they use is a bit different. Because a knife and a scythe, even though it sounds similar, they're very different, as we all know. Now, going on to the visual of the Blade of Mercy. Now, when it's a solid unit, it has a bit of a serrated blade there in the middle, and a forward part being projected like a needle. Like a scorpion's tail, if you will. Very odd looking. And there's no way, I don't think there's any good way to hold this forward or backwards. I think either way would be probably a wrong way, because it looks really hard on the wrist if you were to jab it in with that. But oh well. Now when you activate it, as you'll see here, you simply whip the blade and it's in two. Now you have two daggers. One that's rather the same scorpion tail, the really funny arc, and the other one being a rather strange, if not broken looking thing. Maybe it's a saturite? Maybe it's just the surface area of it? Anyway, it's more of a proper needle tool at that point. So, the basic idea is you don't really get any stronger, but your DPS significantly increases with two weapons. Which could work, but we'll see how much it does work. Okay, going on to the stats for the Blade of Mercy. Now physically, you see the physical damage is rather low, but as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, this weapon's a DPS one. But not only is the physical damage low, but you also got arcane attack in there, which helps bolster that. Now the arcane damage is quite small, it's only 30 with plus 9 built in. That isn't very much, and as you can see with the attribute requirements, that we have a C for skill and a D for arcane, which makes sense this time around. At least off the base build. Now, for the attribute requirement, you need 7 strength and 11 skill. But strangely enough, you don't need any arcane. This is supposed a bit weird for me, because it's like, okay, this weapon's built in with it, why wouldn't you need arcane? But overall, you get the idea. Just a lot of DPS. While quantity over quality. Now, going on to the specific types of damage, you can see that the Blade of Mercy has mainly thrust damage, which I'll contradict that later in this video. And also, of course, you got the dedicated arcane in there as well, present at every strike. But no matter, let's move on to the animations of the Blade of Mercy. Now going on to the animations, the base attack for the solid blade, you see it's kind of no different from a short sword how you use it. A series of swipes, even though it has more of a protruding needle at the end. But could be still very deadly in that respect. The power attack is kind of like a more heavy swipe. I think your character actually swipes the blade and holds it around backwards, if I'm not mistaken. The charge attack you saw there is a heavy uppercut. And the quick step attack is a very rapid slash. And same thing, and when you go to the backstep power attack, it's a heavy jab. The light rolling attack is a quick swipe. But the heavy rolling attack is no different from the standard one as usual. Alright. Now we got the plunge attack, which is more of a, I don't know what to call that, a heavy downward jutting slash. And we got the combined attack there of switching. Let's see that again. It's just pretty much taking both weapons and jabbing forward, having no one of those jabbing animations. Now the base attack is pretty much a series of slashing, getting faster and faster. But your stamina won't be able to maintain that very long. The power attack is a kind of a combination of the weapons come together and then apart, in an X formation. Now, however, with the two weapons you have no charged power attack. You sacrifice that when you draw both weapons together. Oh well. Now, going for late step attack, you get a quick slash, no different from the standard one, and with the backstep power attack, well, you got kind of like the same combination blade attack, except more of an arc. Late rolling attack, you got jabbing forward with both blades, and of course the heavy rolling attack is no different from the standard one. Now on to the extra attack, the L2 attack, which is kind of like a X formation slash, but you backstep. Very interesting. Possibly good for evading. And now we got the plunge attack, which you just jab both daggers into the ground, which would probably ruin them on the first strike. And then you of course got the switch back attack, which is just a simple, pretty much two-handed swipe downwards. Now, going on to upgrading the Blade of Mercy. Now when upgrading the Blade of Mercy, you're not going to get a whole lot of stats at all, because again, DPS weapon. So you're not going to see a whole lot here, although the tree bonus for skills already went to a B, so that's alright. I'm not sure how much you get in terms of arcane scaling, and you can see that both arcane and skill went up one grade to A and C. But even then, your scaling is not going to be overall that strong, and here we are at the final upgrade. Bonus damage just doesn't quite get close to the base damage, and your arcane is still quite abysmal, because of that low scaling of only C. And on top of that, if you were to change the nature of this weapon, it would be unable to. You want to fire a bolt? Not going to happen. It is stuck as arcane and only that. So, only arcane damage and base damage cannot be changed. Alright, let's take this a bit more field test. Now, the base weapon, good for one-on-ones. Arguably, the whole weapon's only good for one-on-ones, but it's actually quite quick. But then it comes to the question of how about the dual blades. That's more important. Now, you got very short range of this. It's pretty obvious that you got a very short range compared to other people. But, however, you can easily cut through those other people rather quickly, providing you got your timing right. You really got to keep your timing right with attacks. Because if you're around the enemy too long, this weapon doesn't stagger enemies really. And if you waste all your stamina on your attacks and leave nothing for dodging, or not enough for dodging, it can be problematic. Although, the weapon is still incredibly quick. You use it to take advantage of much slower opponents, easily. Now, when fighting armored opponents, as you saw, we don't actually have very many thrust attacks. So you can see the base weapon, not that great. Even the power attack, not that great. And I'm trying to do some various other step attacks, but you see that a lot of the other attacks aren't really, not a whole lot of jab attacks at all. So, as much as the weapon comes thrust attacks, they're more slash. Okay, but it's still slash attacks with two weapons, but however, it changed a little bit. You can see with my the base attacks, you just keep slashing at them, you can tear apart all their health. And luckily, these opponents don't have much of a comeback of an attack, although shoving and pushing. But now onto someone with the same armor value that can actually hurt me. The Battle Maiden. Now, give or take, I think this weapon's truly terrible to fight any Battle Maiden with. As you saw, the base weapon, the single solid blade, is probably the worst choice weapons you could do. I'd rather take the Hunter's Torch than do this. There's certainly not enough arcane in my build, and I have 45. So unless you have a truly heavy arcane looking at 80 points, I don't think I'm going to get a significant amount of arcane out of this. But regardless, I'm going to just continue to fight with that Battle Maiden in this video, and we're going to move on to Shadows of Yharnam. Now, they have no armor, but they're fairly quick. Although I'm more than certain my weapon's quicker, but they have a much better range. Much better. Almost double if I had to say so. So you gotta be careful, especially when fighting multiple opponents, since this weapon is kind of more geared for fighting one opponent at a time. But oh well. If you can get in close in between their attacks, you can cut them down really quickly. Really quickly. But you gotta be careful, because they're almost as quick as you. It's a good kind of representation of a lot of endgame enemies, how quick they can be. Oh, and that's not all of them, but plenty of them. I think this weapon's pretty decent for bosses for its good DPS and how quickly you can get your slashes in, but I don't have any bosses to show, unfortunately. Okay, time to move on to the pros and cons of the Blade of Mercy. I'll call the other one the Blades of Mercy. Makes sense in that regard. Now, for the pros and cons for the Blade of Mercy. On the pros, it is a fairly swift weapon, and also has that entire bolt arcane damage built in. It kind of goes for both weapons. Now, in terms of other benefits, I don't really see the benefit of using a single blade really at all. It's really short. Well, let's go on to cons. Now, as I just mentioned, the weapon's incredibly short range. And the damage types are only slash, so there's no real dedicated thrust damage. There's a couple moves, but there you got a lot of backstepping and whatnot. So yeah, I feel the single version to be quite underwhelming in many aspects. So let's just move on to the score beyond that. Now going to the score for the Blade of Mercy, damage, I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. It's okay, but it's really risky to use. And it's not as fast as the twin version, obviously, which is kind of the reason why anyone would use this weapon. Reach, you know this is going to be bad, 2 out of 10. There are weapons with less reach, but this is not exactly making anyone run for their money in terms of that. Animations, I'll give it 6 out of 10. It's fairly good animations, just not a whole lot of good ones in my opinion. But moving on from that, we got bonus, a 5 out of 10. Now, with the bonus, you got good dexterity scaling a little bit, but still overall low base damage. And then the arcane, I'm not going to put that in the equation. That just drags everything down. Miscellaneous, I'm going to give it 4 to 10. It's an okay weapon, but it was a lot better to use in terms of a one solid weapon. Just too short, too limiting, and overall not really that great. So in total, I give the single Blade of Mercy 22 out of 50. It's bad. Let's move on to the Blades of Mercy. Okay, now moving on to the pros and cons on the Blades of Mercy. The DPS is significantly increased, dramatically. Most attacks are rather obscured and different compared to most other weapons in the game, so it'd be quite effective in PvP, I reckon. And of course it has the arcane damage inside, which is great. Okay, moving on to cons, however, it still suffers from a really terrible range. And the playstyle of this is more akin to cautious playstyles. So it's not for everyone, where you really gotta pick and choose your time to attack, since you gotta get multiple attacks in to make this weapon even worth using. So yeah. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention it, but I'll mention it here, that both weapons are locked in with the arcane build. So that's kind of a con that from the previous one I forgot to mention. So yeah. Okay, going on to the score for the Blades of Mercy. Damage is better, 7 out of 10. You got a lot better DPS, a lot better. You can really get those slashes in quick. Reach remains the same at an abysmal 2. Animation though, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. You got a lot of different animations, ones that even send you elsewhere when attacking. It's rather useful in many combat situations. Bonus remains the same at 5 out of 10. Miscellaneous though, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Because no one uses the single one, they all want to use the twin version, because that's the DPS, that's the Swift build. Even though I don't think the Swift build really has a great place in Bloodborne. It does in Dark Souls, oh yes, it does a great job in Dark Souls, but Bloodborne, I don't know, all the enemies are a lot quicker, a lot more nimble. It's kind of how it is in Bloodborne. But in total, I give the Blades of Mercy 27 out of 50. They're good in my opinion. They're good. Not great, good. But that's how it is. Okay, here's the weapon fully outfitted with the gems I have, which I don't actually have a lot of great arcane gems. So it was better to go with the supplement to my physical build than the arcane one. So double damage for arcane in terms of bonus damage. So, the Blades of Mercy did pretty good there, but, in my opinion, Bloodborne is Dark Souls sped up by 1.5 times, enemies and everything. So DPS weapons work wonderfully in Dark Souls due to enemies being rather slow. In Bloodborne, I don't find them nearly as useful, and there's not as many as DPS weapons because of that, I believe. So I don't think the Blades of Mercy are quite in the right place in this game, but that's my opinion. That's been Showcase for Taylor. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.